Tom Brady, yesterday was why they brought Tom Brady into Tampa. It's not about ability. It's about belief. The players stopped believing in Jameis Winston. Yesterday's first half looked like last year. Tampa was apathetic at home. They were a bad home team last year, 2-6. They were apathetic at home. They had a pick six. They trailed. They had the weapons but couldn't make it work. And after a slow start, didn't have sort of the maturity to bring them back. The second half, Tom Brady happened. Actual adjustments, scored on every possession, spread the ball to 9 different receivers, all 5 touchdown passes, 5 different receivers. That's not ability. That is belief. That is coaches listening to Brady at half. The defense suddenly for Tampa Bay got outstanding. They trailed 5 times last year at half. Only once could they muster the ability to come back. Jameis Winston in Tampa 5 years never came back from 17 down in a division that had some bad teams. It's not like everybody they played was great. Chargers are not a bad team, got a lot of talent defensively. Tampa Bay was down 17. That's not ability what you saw yesterday. That is belief that players believe in Tom Brady. By the way, Brady's been in 9 Super Bowls. He's not thrown a touchdown pass in any of them in the first quarter. How have his second halves been? Ask Atlanta and Seattle. He is the greatest comeback quarterback of all time. And it changes the defense, it changes the coaching, and it changes the belief system when you go down in half and you're getting your arse kicked at home. That game, first half, looked exactly like Tampa. They even had a pick six. It looked just like Tampa. And then Tom Brady happened. And Bruce Arians touched on this, is that it's so much of this organization, the only organization that's never had a, quote, Hall of Fame great quarterback in their history, so much of this organization, it's never been about talent. It's never been about coaching. They've had Tony Dungy. They've had Sam Weish. They've had Bruce Arians. They've had good coaches. They've had the Selmans. They had Warren Sapp. They had Derek Brooks. They've had great players. They have great players now. But the belief system in Tampa has always been flimsy. And as Bruce Arians said afterwards, it no longer is. Listen, I covered this team. I was there. They always had good coaches. They always had good players. It was when everybody sort of bought in to, Tony Dungy, and everybody bought in to Tony's defensive system, and it all kind of felt, kind of started to feel right. And I mean, they've had Gruden, they've had Dungy, they had Bruce Arians, they have Sam White. It's never been a coaching issue in Tampa, and it's never been a talent issue. It's been a belief issue, and Brady's changed everything. So I've said this before, is contextualize it. I've defended Carson Wentz forever. Last 3 years, he's dealing with nothing. And I love Patrick Mahomes, but he's gotten a lot of breaks in the perfect setting and the perfect coach and the perfect weapons. Here's a great example of Russell Wilson. So they play Miami yesterday. Brian Flores is a very good defensive coach from the Bill Belichick tree, and they went out and spent money on the defensive side. But Miami's got some limitations at quarterback with Fitzmagic. But here's Russell Wilson. Let's start with David Moore. David Moore is a 7th-round pick from East Central University. They can't even get their directions right. Very marginal wide receiver talent, but he always seems to be open with Russell Wilson. Isn't that funny how it works? Always seems to be open with Russell Wilson, the 7th-round wide receiver talent. There's running back Chris Carson is also a 7th-round running back. That means all the teams in the NFL, everybody loves 7th-round running backs because you don't have to pay them anything and nobody wants to pay a running back. It's funny with Chris Carson. He's now a top 10 running back with Russell Wilson. And then there's DK Metcalf, who was a project, a muscle-bound project, a 2nd-round pick. And he now leads the NFL in receiving yards. He was a project. He was the guy that dropped in the draft. He looked great without his shirt on, but everybody was like, he didn't really run the route. He's now leading the NFL in receiving yards. The O-line, ranked 29th in the NFL by Pro Football Focus before the year, is slightly better than that, so he's not getting help there. And, oh, by the way, Seattle is 5th in yards in the NFL and 2nd in points. Does everybody understand that? Like, this is not a shot at Mahomes. It is not. But he is doing it with 7th-round receivers. And I said this for years. Doug Baldwin was his top receiver. He was undrafted. Will Dissly was a blocking tight end in college. Not with Russell. He can catch passes. Tyler Lockett was a gadget receiver at Kansas State. He was considered, he'll be a cute little gadget guy. Now Russell and Tyler Lockett last year, I think, were the most accurate quarterback receiver combo in the NFL. There are no DeAndre Hopkins here. There are no Calvin Johnsons. There are no Randy Mosses. This is just a guy, and this is whenever, and this is not a shot at Aaron Rodgers, but when I hear Aaron Rodgers, I wish I could get more of this and more of that. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about you need more of this. You as a quarterback, Carson Wentz showed you again last night, a franchise quarterback doesn't need constant elevation. You have to be somewhat self-reliant. I'm watching Jerry Seinfeld on 60 Minutes, the tape of that this morning, and Seinfeld had both his parents were orphans. And they said, Jerry, was that weird to grow up as a kid when both your parents are orphans? And he said, well, I had to be, because they were orphans, they had to be self-reliant. My parents never taught me how to grab a fork. They didn't know where my school was my whole life. He goes, you become incredibly self-reliant. When your parents are orphans and you become their kid, like they've had to be self-reliant. They're not into teaching you. They were just trying to survive. And there's a little bit of that to Russell Wilson. He's not reliant on he's got a defensive head coach. He's had bad offensive line coaches who they fired a couple. He has a below average O-line. He's got 7th round running back wide receivers, blocking tight ends. You can't, in life, you can't whine and be a victim on everything. At some point, you just gotta elevate stuff around. You got to do it. What's the best thing you've got, and you've got to elevate it. That was a tough game yesterday to win. Furthest point in the NFL to travel is Seattle to Miami. It was the wise guys' pick of the week was Miami. It was my favorite pick of the week. But beyond that, it looked like a really tough game for Seattle. They come off an emotional win. Then you go down to little old Miami. They have no pass rush. So that means that Russell Wilson has the pressure of having to score massive points every Sunday. And what do you know? They've scored over 30 every week this year. He just tied Peyton Manning's mark with 16 touchdowns through 4 games. It's incredible when you look at what he's doing it with. I mean, I know these guys are good enough to be NFL players, but it is pretty remarkable. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.